Hello YouTubers, here I have the ZX5 Kodak Playsport. Now in this video I shall be doing a macro comparison, and then on the end I shall do some zooming in with the Panasonic DC1. So first up I have the ZX5 in macro mode. My hand is about 1.5 inches away from the text, and as I get closer it starts to go blurry, so you're about 1 inch away from it there. Now obviously if I use the zoom in it keeps its clarity and it's really good, but I have to zoom in, I can't move the camera any closer. So if I move the camera really close, this is virtually touching, well, it's a finger's width away from the case, and as you can see it's out of focus. So even though it's macro mode I have to be just under 1 inch away from the case in order for it to be in good macro. So that's on the Kodak Playsport ZX5. Now what I'm going to do is use the Panasonic and show you what the macro can do using that. Okie dokie. Okay, so here we have the Panasonic DC1 and I have it in macro mode. Both cameras are in 720p at 30 frames per second. Now I'm not going to zoom, I'm going to move my hand. So we're still in focus, just. Now look at that, that is really bright, really clear and really good. Now still quite clear. My finger is actually touching the case. The shadow you can see is actually the shadow from the lens cover. Now I am virtually touching the case. And that is me touching the case. Okay, the camera is actually flat on the case, so if I pull it back just about 1 millimeter, that is like just ridiculous. I don't think, I mean, that's not even a thumb's width away. That is like virtually touching the case. The shadow you can see is actually the lens and the lens cover blocking the light. So that is how good the macro is. I mean, that is touching the case, and as you can see the hijack is pretty good. Now as I showed you with the ZX5, when I tried to do that with ZX5 you couldn't even read it because it was all blurry, but with this, that is how good the macro is. I mean, that is just ridiculous. Just let it refocus itself and look at that. That's about a finger's width away from the case, and that is how good it is. So there you go. Right, next up what I'm going to do is set the camera up and do a zoom in test. So as you can see, the quality of the macro is just outstanding on this camera and I am very impressed with it. Right, now I'm going to do the zoom test. Okie dokie. Right, so now for the zoom test. Now this camera has a zoom range button at the top which turns it from W to T. Now what I've got it in is in W at the moment, which I assume is the wide angle lens part of it, and when I zoom in it won't be as focused, I don't think, as when it's in T mode, which I think is telescopic mode. Yes. So what I'm going to do now is put it on full zoom. I've got it on a tripod so that it should be sturdy enough. I've also got the image stabilization on, so hopefully that'll be sturdy as well. So what I'm going to do now is zoom it to its maximum and we'll see what it's like. So that is where the optical zoom finishes, and it's now going to go into the digital zoom. That is on full zoom. I don't know what the zoom max is. It says 12 times wide range zoom. I'd have to have a look in the specifications to see what the zoom is. So what I'm going to do now is put it onto the other setting to see what the difference is. So let's just zoom it back. So now we have it in T mode, which I assume is telescopic, but I'm not sure. I've come to the front to because I thought it'd be better. I don't know why. There you go. Right, so let's zoom in. So that is the maximum optical zoom. As you can see, it is quite clear and crisp still, which is nice. Now let's go in a bit further with the digital element of it. Now that is about half, well, that is about half of the digital zoom. As you can see, it still keeps quite a lot of its clarity, even though it is, you know, nearly on full zoom. Normally with other cameras that I've had, by the time you get to this kind of digital zoom, the picture is all distorted. I know that on the Toshiba S30, by the time I got to this level of zoom, you couldn't really make out the picture properly. And now let's go full zoom. So there's full zoom. Still pretty clear. Obviously it's on a tripod, so it's not moving around or anything, so that's pretty good. It's a shame I couldn't get any text like a street sign or anything like that, because that would have been good to be able to see that, but I thought the post box would be a nice thing to zoom in on. So let's go back to the optical and then zoom out altogether. So there you go. That's the Panasonic zoom. I am really impressed with the zoom and the macro as well. I still really think it's really good, and it's the best that I've seen on a Pocket HD camcorder so far. So I'm really chuffed with this, and I would recommend it. Yes. Okay, that's enough for me. Hope you're enjoying these tests, and I'll do some more later on. Bye bye for now. I wanted to tag this on the end of the video to show you guys what this camera's zoom is actually capable of. I saw this when I was away over the weekend. The plane was in the sky and I zoomed in on it to see what it was like, and this is the result that I got. Outstanding.